Boldwood presents Christmas Once Again, written by Jina Bacarr and read by Laurel Lefko. The moral right of the author has been asserted. This performance is owned by Boldwood. Chapter 1. Posey Creek, Pennsylvania. December 12th, 1943. I bet you my last pair of stockings, little sister, I'll be saying I do before Christmas. I whirl around in a circle, pretending the most wonderful man in the world is holding me in his arms, my heart soaring. A pot of Ma's meat gravy simmers on the burner, the smell tickling my fancy to have my own kitchen soon. So many wonderful memories here. Planked floors, big white stove humming with good cooking, Ma's rocker and her rosewood sewing box, wallpaper dotted with daisies, their yellow petals turned golden over the years, and 4 ceramic angels lined up on top of the spice rack. A tradition we do every year, along with listening to the holiday radio shows, but this Christmas is even more special to me. It's crazy I feel so confident, even though he hasn't actually asked me yet. But I know he will. Eyes popping, Lucy swallows the spoonful of jam she shoved into her mouth. You, Kate, married? Slender and graceful like a young doe. She's not as tall as me, though at 16 she's already filling out her sweaters. Dark brown hair, rich with honeyed highlights, frames her oval face, and an army of freckles deepen in color on her cheeks as she laughs. I hear Santa's taken. I ignore her sarcasm and scoop Ma's holiday cherry jam onto crackers. It's a secret, so don't tell anyone. I wink at her, not letting up with my tease. I can't. I'm too excited. Lucy adores secrets. Her face beams with excitement, like she got away with something without Ma finding out. Like using a pillowcase for a laundry bag, since bedding is hard to come by, or borrowing my $2 face powder when she thinks I'm not looking. Despite my affection for her, I pray she keeps my news under her hat. She loves to talk as much as she loves flirting with the soldiers down at the canteen, but I have to tell somebody the news or I'll burst. What are sisters for if you can't tease them? Besides, when Jeff does ask me, I'll need her help fitting my bridal suit to get the hem straight. A gray suit with a frog clasp I made from extra silk Ma had left over from before the war. I'm lucky to have it. I want to look pretty for him. I never thought of myself as the pin-up type, but Jeff makes me feel special and loved. He says I stand up taller when he catches my eye, and that brings me closer to kissing him. Ma also noticed how much more confident I am. She was curious about why I saved up for 2 months to buy a blue silk hat with a wispy veil to go with my red coat with the fake fur collar when I have a perfectly good black hat. I just smiled. What's there to tell? Lucy points to my bare finger smeared with jam. You're not wearing a ring, so you can't be engaged. I smile. You don't know everything about me. I know you're sweet on some guy. I raise a brow. Snooping again? Me? She bats her eyelashes. I don't have to. Not the way you go around singing to yourself when you come home from your job at the mill. How you stop and sigh when we walk past Wrightwood House on our way to town. A winsome smile makes my lips curl. I love working at the paper mill. I started out in the typing pool after I graduated from high school. I worked my way up to private secretary to Mr. Claiborne in the billing and acquisitions department. He needed a girl who could think and not just type, he said. Nothing top secret about what I do, but I've been told not to ask questions. Anyway, I have other things on my mind. Even when I'm dead tired from typing a pile of my shorthand notes, I get warm all over when I think about the man I want to marry. A light comes on in Lucy's swimming green eyes. So, my big sister has stars in her eyes for Jeffrey Rushbrooke. Don't get your garter belt in a twist. I grab another cherry jam-filled cracker. You don't know anything of the sort. Surprisingly, Lucy goes quiet, like she's mulling over her reply before saying something that might upset me. She gossips more than Mrs. Widget the neighbor, but she's a good egg, bouncy and full of cheer, especially this time of year. She loves Christmas as much as I do, and helped me pile Ma's holiday cherry jam into glass jars. For me, the Christmas season begins when Ma takes us kids cherry-picking in the woods. Lucy, Frank Jr., and me. When the days are long, the nights are hot, and the cherries are big and sweet and perfect to pick for jam. Before the war, Ma made the sweetest jam in the county, with cinnamon and lemon zest, but since rationing started, we've had food shortages. We cheered when the government doubled the sugar rations so we could make jam for the boys passing through our small town. The trains stop here every day, and Lucy makes it a high priority to meet the train and flirt with the soldiers. She talks about nothing else. "He'll never marry you, Kate," she says, her sad puppy eyes showing real concern. I've never seen her look so serious. "You know what Ma says about them rich people." "Those rich people?" She wriggles her nose. "It doesn't matter how good you talk, we're not his kind." I shrug. "The bet's still on." "You're a fool, Kate Arden," she sighs, "falling for a guy who doesn't know you're alive." Lucy never went up to Wrightwood House with Ma and me when we were kids, never knew Jeff and I were pals. I grin. "He knows." She stares at me straight on. "Then why don't you bring him around the house to meet Ma and Pop?" "You know I can't." The hoarseness in my voice reveals how much that hurts me. Because my romance is a secret. Is Lucy right? Am I a fool? "I thought so," she says smugly. "No wonder you sneak out after supper when Ma isn't looking. Wearing that dark red lipstick smeared all over your mouth. I see it's gone when you creep back in, carrying your shoes behind your back." She ties back her long hair with a baby blue ribbon. "I'm not a child. I know what you're up to." "Then why are you acting like one?" I miffed. "Can't a girl get some fresh air after dinner?" "During a blackout drill?" Lucy rolls her eyes. "You're spying on me." "I'm not spying. Mr. Horner, my teacher, says we have to keep our eyes open, that you can't be too careful these days." I tingle. How can I explain I'll do anything to be with Jeff? I never tire of looking at him and feeling his lips brushing mine. The way he stands taller than any man at the mill, his dark hair falling across his brow because he hates slicking it back, his dark eyes always alert. He's as tough as you expect from a boy who grew up working on the factory floor. His father was grooming him to take over someday, but wielding a heavy hand. But I know another side of him, the artist. The young man who reads stories to me in French and kisses me every time I reach to muss up his hair. I don't care if he is the boss's son. We love each other, pledged we'd be together when we were kids, and that's enough for me. I fell for him the first time I saw him up at Wrightwood House. I was 11. He was 14. I glanced up at him after gumming up the errand Ma sent me on and caught the glint in his dark eyes, a flash that seized my imagination, that told me that I wasn't a nobody, that I was somebody. I never forgot it. "I've already said enough, Lucy," I say with assurance. "Case closed." "You're no fun, Kate." Lucy puts her hands on her hips and stares at me. "What are you hiding from me?" "Nothing. Besides, you're too young to know anything more." "I'm 16. She gives me a curvy smile. "I know more than you think I do." I frown. That's what worries me. With the war on, girls like Lucy are growing up faster than they should. She's still in high school, for Pete's sake. As sisters go, we're close, though since I turned 19, I feel more like a woman than a screaming bobby soxer. a teen swooning over her favorite movie star. Lucy knows what she wants, a soldier and a family. If anyone is born to be a homemaker, it's my kid sister. I want a home too, but I don't want to wait till the war is over. My need to marry this man burns within me. I can't stand it any more, and I squeeze my legs together to quell the ache low in my belly. I turn away so she doesn't see my cheeks tint. I'm always in awe of his broad shoulders filling the doorway of his office, standing there and watching me when I walk by, smiling. He smiles at all the ladies on the factory floor, but the smile he gives me is different. Flirty with a smirk, like we share a secret. We do, and that knowing look we give each other reflects our love. Two hearts entwined in a communion we both hold sacred. Everything around us stops except for the hum of the machinery on the factory floor. I can barely keep walking, knowing he's watching me. I ache for him touching me. I can't wait for the day when we're married, him lying next to me on our wedding night, his rich, masculine smell filling me up when I close my eyes. I wipe the sweat forming above my lip, not caring if I smear jam on my face. I have to be married before Christmas. No telling when he'll be called up. Surely Uncle Sam will put on his Santa cap and not ask the boys to leave home during the holidays. Why, I'd do anything to be with him. Even elope, so we can be together. Then, when we're married, I won't have to sneak out anymore. He'll come home on a furlough, and we'll have our own apartment near the paper mill. I already have the kitchen curtains made. Cheery and bright, like I want my home to be. A place where I can make him forget how much he hates the life his father mapped out for him, and how the old man treats him. Mrs. Jeffrey Rushbrooke. I sigh. My man won't let me down. Not after what he said to me down by the big old cherry tree last night, below stars in the sky, on a night so clear. Words that he said to me when we were kids, and he told me someday he'd marry me. I believed him then, and I believe him now. Lucy doesn't know I've been meeting him nearly every day since last summer, when he came home from college and saw me working down at the mill. Imagine my surprise when he asked me to have a chocolate malted milk at the dairy with him. He drove me to the dairy farm over in the next town in his cute blue roadster, and we sat in a back booth and talked for hours. How I grew up and how pretty I turned out. His words, not mine, and I keep them close to my heart. He may be the best-looking guy in Posey Creek, but he comes from money, Lucy says, regarding me with concern. His mother is so uppity, she'll never accept you in her inner circle. Jeff respects his parents, but he's his own man, I assure her. He could spend the war here in Posey Creek, overseeing production at the mill, but he enlisted in the Army Air Force so he can fly bombers. I'm not saying the handsome young Mr. Rushbrooke isn't as wonderful as you say he is, Kate. But there are some things this war won't change, like how his folks look down on us because we're not rich. We are rich, Lucy. I hug her tight, and a familiar scent fills my nostrils. She smells like my favorite perfume, Paris Rose. I don't hold it against her. We have each other, and Ma and Pop, and Frank Jr., and that's more important than anything. Is that a sniffle I hear coming from my little sister? Not that she'll admit family is as important as breathing. At 16, I didn't either. Oh, Kate, I'll die if that awful woman does anything to make you unhappy. You're the best sister ever, and I'd hate to see you get hurt. My heart pings. I'm touched by her words. I won't. You don't know Jeff like I do. You know what Ma says, the cherry doesn't fall far from the tree. You mean apple, I say, smiling. Whatever. If Ma says it, it's true. She recovers from her sentimental moment as quickly as it came, and sticks her finger into the cherry jam and licks it clean. "You're on, Kate. I'll take that bet." Then she raises up her skirt and makes a face when her white socks slide down her calves. "I can hardly wait to be the only girl at school with a new pair of nylons." "I'd sharpen your eyebrow pencil if I were you, sister dear," I say, filled with the confidence only a girl in love can have. "The only way you'll be wearing seams this holiday is to draw them." Chapter 2. December 20th, 1943. Posey Creek train station. Racing toward the station platform, my overnight case bumping against my hip, I refuse to give in to the dread seeping through me. I'm late. I've never been so scared. I don't see Jeff anywhere. The train station is packed with servicemen and civilians scrambling not to miss their train. There are fewer holiday travelers this year with gifts. Their faces reflect the uncertainty of what lies ahead, the fear of the unknown. A sagging garland of pine hangs over the ticket window, its lovely Christmassy smell depleted by the strong scent of an army on the move. I keep going. Gray silk peeks from under my red coat with the 6 shiny gold buttons, my pumps with the worn heels tapping out a quick rhythm. Of course he won't leave without me. We're eloping. He can't leave without his bride. I'd simply die. Breathing hard, I keep going in spite of my fears. My heart tugs when I glance at a railway worker handling the big sacks of Christmas rush mail. Letters filled with love and hope for a happy homecoming when the frost melts. I'll be sending Jeff letters like that after we're married. I couldn't believe it when he asked me after the Saturday night Christmas dance. We braved the cold night, leaving the dreamy music behind to make music of our own. I rushed into his arms like water cascading into a dam, twirled around, and told him 1,000,000 times, yes, yes. I wondered how long our bliss would last before he was called up, how soon I'd be sewing insignia patches on his uniform when he came home on furlough. Then, how crushed my heart would be when he left for overseas. But not in that moment. Nothing could take away my joy when he pulled me close to him, crushing me against his broad chest. "You've made me so happy, Jelly Girl," his pet name for me since we were kids. Then he nuzzled his face in my hair like he was afraid I'd say no, which was when I realized that although Jeff is a hero in my eyes, that he's perfect and good and kind, he's still a man made from flesh and blood. And he was scared. Scared he wouldn't come back. To his home. To me. I grew up then. I had to be strong for both of us. I held on to his hand as we walked down the festive lane with red bows and fake candy canes tied onto the bushes, and even if I couldn't see his face in the dark, I knew he felt reassured I'd love him forever. "Nothing can separate us, Jeff, not even this war." I squeezed his hand. "I promise you that with my whole heart." "I believe you, Kate. Somehow, I know nothing can take you from me." "You do?" "I do." He laughed, then laid out his plans for us to go to Washington, D.C. on the 7:10 a.m. train and get hitched, then call my family with the news. He grinned so widely, I felt thoroughly convinced we were set on a course not even fate could alter. I've never felt such confidence race through my veins, such exhilaration that no matter what, I'd be there for him when he came home from the war. We floated in that lovely dream for what seemed like forever, talking about our hopes for the future, and then, with cover of a blackout to hide us, we spoke in hushed whispers of our secret desires to love each other as man and wife. I'll never forget the warmth of his body pressed against mine, his deep voice setting off a slow burn in me that made me snuggle up closer to him. And yes, I admit it, I didn't hold back the tears of joy that wet my cheeks. Tears fresh with the promise of a wonderful future together, where we could live out our years in perfect harmony. Like Ma and Pop. I get all warm inside when I see them together, more so now that I understand what's behind that secret look they give each other. The love they share. It shines on their faces, and I want that for Jeff and me more than anything, to keep the pledge we made to each other when we were kids. We both know that we have something special, like you see in the pictures. That spark in his eye, the way my stomach drops down to my knees, the feeling no one else is in the room but us. No one can break that deep bond. Not even a war can separate us. When he's overseas, our memories will never fade. I tingle every time I think about the richness of his voice, the mischief in his eyes that turns them into a chocolatey deep amber when he leans down and sneaks a kiss from me. I have to find him. The train whistle blows, and my heart stops. My breath catches. The impatient train whistle warns me to hurry, but I don't know where Jeff is. I twist my head around, looking everywhere for him. A deep chill cuts through me, sending me into a panic. In spite of my fake fur collar, my teeth chatter as I try to cope with the cold. What rail car did he say? I dig my hand into my coat pocket for my ticket and feel only the folded-up drawing he made of me on an October autumn day, a loving memento I keep close to me. No, he has our train tickets. Surely he's looking for me. He was supposed to pick me up down the road from my house, but something must have happened. I fret and play with my gloves. I can't give up. I'll find him. I wouldn't have been so late if the minister's wife, Mildred, hadn't had a flat tire while giving me a lift. She is an angel in my eyes, a woman who finds strength in helping others, and she knew how important it was for me to get to the train station this morning. I ran the rest of the way. I breathe out hard. Jeff won't leave without me. He loves me. I break into a run, dramatically like they do in the pictures, my hair blowing wild in the wind, tears running down my cheeks. I jam through the turnstile at the train station, looking down for only a moment when the bottom gold button on my coat rips off. I don't stop. I race up and down the platform, but I don't see Jeff anywhere. Breathless, I look right, then left. Where is he? "Miss Kate Arden," calls out a crotchety voice behind me. "Miss Arden." I wave at the station master. "I'm Kate Arden." "For you, miss." My legs crumble beneath me when he hands me a letter and I rip it open. My hand goes to my mouth when I read the hastily scribbled words. My darling Kate, I don't have much time to explain, but I've been called up to report for duty in Washington without delay. Please understand, it happened so fast, but it's urgent that I leave this morning. A change of plans. I wish I could say more, but I'm under orders and can't tell you the details, except I have no choice but to report earlier for pilot training school. My heart aches to tell you this, Jelly Girl, but we have to wait to get married till I come home on furlough. A sudden spasm makes me hunch my shoulders, a pain that radiates to my heart, which is beating so fast, too fast. I crumple up the letter without finishing reading it. No doubt Jeff didn't want to upset Ma and Pop by showing up at the house, so he gave the letter to the station master. Still, I can't stop shaking. No, this isn't happening. It can't be. There's got to be a way. Breathing hard, I scan every face I see, looking for Jeff. I have to find him. The 7:10 train to Washington hasn't left yet. Our train. I fly through the train station, a cold winter air rushing between my legs, the hissing steam of the big locomotive filling my ears. I shoot a glance at several young men boarding the third rail car, all going to camp, I imagine. Then I see him, brows crossed, running his hand through his dark hair, eyes shooting a painful look as he boards the next car. But suddenly, he turns around, as if looking for me. That moment of pure longing on his face is forever seared into my mind. Of course he knew I'd search for him, but if we missed each other, he didn't want me to think he didn't love me. So he wrote the letter. "Jeff! Jeff!" I yell as I race madly toward him. and he jumps off the 3 rail steps with ease and jams toward me. Tall and strong, his long overcoat whipping against his muscular legs. No hat, as usual. Eyes blazing hot, with so much love for me. My legs buckle. I want to grab him, kiss him, but I control the urge because I'm still reeling over the painful words in his letter. It's a mistake. It has to be. We'll be celebrating Christmas together this year, and for years to come. Kate, how did you find me? His laugh is anxious, but still I hear mirth in his voice, like he's happy to see me. It's our wedding day, Jeff. I snuggle up to his broad chest, once again feeling safe and protected. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Didn't you read my letter? His joy turns to something dark in his eyes I can't read, a raw fear I've never seen there before. Even the tiny jagged scar above his right brow deepens, as if he's unsure how to explain the awful words he wrote with a shaky hand. Yes, but it doesn't mean we can't get married anyway, I plead, looking at him, my lashes wet with tears I refuse to let fall. Oh, Kate. Jelly girl, my orders came through and I have to go alone. That's why I couldn't pick you up, he says, shaking his head. I gave the station master directions to deliver the letter to you at the mill if he didn't find you. Then, before I can speak, he cups my face in his hand. Just know that whatever happens in this war, I love you, and always will. Then show me, Jeff, I whisper, with so much need for him, and we both forget we're in a train station filled with soldiers and civilians, porters, smoky and loud, but not for us. As if time stands still. I'll never forget his hand sliding around my waist, and before I can rise up on my toes to kiss him, he presses me close to him. I have to go, Jelly girl. He blurts out the words in a hot whisper in my ear, and panic overwhelms me. You can't get on that train without me, Jeff. You can't. I pout, curl my lower lip, and stomp my foot. Yes, I'm acting like a silly schoolgirl, but I have a right. I'm supposed to get married today. I look around at the civilians seeing off soldiers, the anguish on their faces, a child's trembling hand brushing the sleeve of an army uniform, the mumbled words of a man telling his wife not to worry with a cracking voice, the sniffling sounds of a mother who can't look into her son's eyes because she doesn't want him to see her crying. Oh, what a selfish girl you are, Kate Arden. There's a war going on, and all you think about is yourself. Let him go. Do his part, while you do yours, here on the home front. I glance back at Jeff, the sun spilling down from the heavens through the glass ceiling, his jaw set with a purpose so true I accept what I know now is my job in this war, to be the strong woman I purport to be, to keep him in my heart, but let him go. The train whistle drags me out of my stupor with a sharp blast. The piercing look in his eyes makes me tremble. It tells me he doesn't want to leave me like this, hurting so. It's not goodbye, Jeff, I begin, that holy voice that keeps whispering inside me louder, clearer than ever. What is it you always tell me in French? Au revoir. He nuzzles his cheek against mine. Till we meet again. I repeat the words with what I'm certain is a horrible accent, but he smiles, slow and heartfelt. His face bears the smoothness of youth, but his expression is that of a man who knows he's facing the brutality of war, something I can't grasp, no matter how many newsreels I see. But I see it on his face, and it scares me. Taking a breath to fuel my courage, I pull up something deep inside me that's been brewing for a while. I knew this day would come when Jeff went away to camp. I just didn't expect it so soon. So, like the supportive officer's wife I want to be, I let him go. Without any more drama, without breaking down, I remain strong. But not before I give him my most precious possession, his drawing of me. So you don't forget me, Jeff. I press the folded-up drawing into his hand, and he flinches. This way, I'll be with you wherever they send you. There's a longing in his dark eyes that tells me everything I want to know. A deep pain he struggles to keep under control that transforms his handsome features into sharp edges. His lips are tight as he says, "You don't know how difficult this is for me, Kate." His words reverberate with a longing so deep that just hearing him say them triggers a crazy set of emotions that make me want to plead for him to take me with him. Ride on that train as far as I can go, holding him, loving him with every clickety-clack of the wheels. When he wraps his arms around my shoulders, pulling me so close I can't breathe, my blood heats up, and some unforeseen spark in my brain reminds me he's just as scared of the future as I am. It's up to me to allay his fears. With our hearts beating in unison, hands clasped together, foreheads touching, we speak in low whispers to each other, reaffirming our love, making our peace with the winds of war that tear us apart because we know there is no other choice if the world is ever to be free. I love you, Jelly Girl. His low, gravelly voice chills me, his words vibrating in me even as he lifts my hat veil and kisses me warmly. I hug every last moment with him to my heart and button it up to keep his words safe from the fraying embers of time. I love you too, Jeff. For always. With a sudden blast of steam, the great locomotive comes to life. Wheels turning, gray smoke pouring out of its belly, and even I can feel the urgency in the air pushing us forward. Jeff gives me one more kiss that stings because I know it's the last kiss I'll have from him until he returns. Then he's gone, and my soul goes with him. I stand there as the train pulls out of the station, watching and waving, until my arm is so tired it turns numb. Long, lonely months without his arms around me, his lips on mine. I tune out everything around me as passengers gather on the platform, waiting for the next train. The choked sobs, passionate farewells, the hurried whispers of soldiers' promises to their mothers and sweethearts, promises they pray they can keep, the heaviness hanging in the air. In spite of the well-meaning holiday Santa posters and posts entwined with red and green and silver ribbons, nobody says Merry Christmas. It hurts too much, wondering if it will be the last time they say it to their soldier or sailor. It's then I realize I have a job to do in this war too. At the paper mill, typing government requisitions, checking on the factory production of ration cartons and ammo boxes, doing whatever I can to bring Jeff and all our boys home. I bite my lip, determined not to cry. He'll be back. I know he will. And I'll be waiting for him. Chapter 3. New York City, December 20th, 1955. I never saw Jeff again. It was Christmas 12 years ago, and it still hurts. A throb of pain that acts up around this time every year. I ignore the rest of the world and go into my shell. For years, I questioned why I didn't get on that train, ride as far as I could go until I had to get off. Now I go through every detail like it's a typed word upon the page that never fades with time. Then I go about the rest of my day until next year, when I go through the same ritual all over again. Because I can't let him go. I still love him. The memory of that morning is more painful this time of year, when my usual busy routine is interrupted with dodging the mistletoe hanging in the doorway of the break room. Every sprig of holly is like a thorn pricking my heart. This obsession of mine hasn't done wonders for my personal life, which is why I'm a single 31-year-old woman who prefers to think of herself as a career girl and not an old maid, sifting through her memories like they're tear-stained dance cards. Not easy to do in this couples society when everyone is striving for that cookie-cutter life. I haven't embraced it, nor do I intend to. I'm successful. I worked my way up at Holtford Company to food editor. It's an established publishing company that's been around for over 100 years. I came to New York in 1947 after realizing life in Posey Creek was a dead end for me. I had no desire to be pitied because I didn't marry right after the war like most girls. I'd lost Jeff, and no one could replace him in my heart. So I took the money I saved and headed to the city to pursue a career. I was more determined than ever to make something of myself. I worked as a proofreader for a while. Then I jumped at the opportunity when there was an opening in the fashion section, attending trunk shows and writing about poor little rich girls' weddings. From the small towns to the big cities, brides-to-be wanted to copy their swanky designer gowns. According to the columns, every girl of marriageable age is tying the knot as fast as she can in this post-war world and moving to suburbia. Except me. I haven't moved on from my wartime romance. I tried. I was engaged to a Wall Street guy for longer than I want to admit. We always found an excuse not to tie the knot. His job, my job. The market was up, then down. It never felt right, as if I was cheating on Jeff. So I threw myself into my work. Finally, we went our separate ways. That was a year ago. I checked the time, looking down at my tiny gold-plated wristwatch. 30 minutes to go. I'm lucky to be sitting at this desk in a tall building on Park Avenue. My break came when I started submitting stories to the food column about the ins and outs of modern home cooking. Fate and a kindly food editor stepped in and opened up a new world to me. When I was growing up, Ma was so dedicated to her cooking, we kids swore she slept with her apron on over her nightgown. Sweet angel of the frying pan, I called her. She passed her love of baking and cooking on to me. I savor the last drop of coffee in my cup, letting it linger on my tongue. But the sugar is long gone. It tastes bitter. I set my cup down, and it rattles on the saucer. The last time I saw Jeff is a day I'll never forget. Yet I relive it with a temerity that gets stronger every year, as if by wishing things had turned out differently, I can make it happen. Turn the past upside down like a snow globe and make everything come out better. That I jump on that train with him and somehow we get married. If only. 2 little words. In spite of my efforts, nothing changes. Everything is the same. Well, not really. Ma devoted herself to taking care of Pop after he had a stroke. He passed in 1951, his heart broken. He got hit real hard when we got the news about Frank Jr. getting wounded in Korea during the winter offensive in late 1950. When my brother came home from the war, he was never the same. It killed Pop more than if he died in action. I wish I'd spent more time trying to understand the gangly boy who wanted to be a baseball player, not a mill worker. Pop started drinking heavy when his boy left town to cure his mental scars from the war on his own. It did him in. He was a good man and worked hard at the mill. I wasn't close to my father, but I respected him. He didn't know how to show his feelings, which was common in men of that generation. When I lost Ma a year later in 1952, I cried for days. I adored my mother. She was apple pie and pink yarn and smelled like rainwater. Ma carried on the best she could after God took her boys, with Frankie making his way across the country to handle his problems in his own way. It hurt her bad, not knowing how her son was doing, pained her more than she let on. I saw her crying on my last visit, her shoulders hunched as she hung up the laundry outside, thinking no one heard her. In the end, she died from pneumonia, like she was just exhausted from living. Then there's Lucy, my spinning top, never sitting still, my scatterbrained sister, never let up teasing me about Jeff. But she never left my side when I heard the heartbreaking news. MIA, came the whispers at the mill. Then, months later, we heard Jeff was killed when his plane was hit by flak and went down over Germany. No one in the crew of 10 survived. The next day I saw a gold star pennant hanging in the window at Wrightwood House. My whole world ended. My little sister cried with me. She was there for me when Jeff's mother ignored me at the memorial. Mrs. Rushbrooke had seen me enough times at the house when Jeff was around to know I wasn't just another girl from the mill stuck on her son. I always wondered if she suspected we were dating later on. But as long as it didn't upset her world, she didn't make a ruckus. Until Jeff didn't come back, as if it was my fault. She ordered me to never, ever cross her doorstep again. Then she smashed the jar of cherry jam I brought for her against the wall. I never understood why, if she was just grieving or she really knew about us. I told no one, not even Ma. I never told her about my secret plans to marry Jeff, though she had a notion I was seeing him. She hoped I'd get over him, find somebody else and get married. How could I? I loved him so much. I couldn't let him go. It was a deep romantic love left unfulfilled. No man could ever compete with that. I didn't want anyone but him. Lucy kept my secret. I lived my life through her after Jeff left. I was more excited than she was at her wedding after she found her soldier, Jimmy, and corralled him with her freckled smile. She wrote to a lot of soldiers during the war, but this boy won her heart with his dimples and big, strong hands. Now she's got 3 kids and a loving husband and lives in the big old house where we grew up. Built over 100 years ago and nestled among oak and cherry trees, the house has belonged to Ma's family since her grandpa won it in a poker game. Which brings me to part 2 of my yearly scenario, Lucy's annual phone call, when she begs me to come home for the holidays. I can't. Ma understood the memories were too painful and welcomed me home whenever I could make the trip, though I haven't been back since she's been gone. The pain of losing Jeff at Christmas is too raw. I keep my memory of him hidden in the deepest pocket of my heart, with a button on it. I never look inside except this time of year, and then only for a little while. Because it hurts so much, I want to avoid going home for Christmas this year. Again. Besides, I have plans. A quiet holiday in Vermont, lounging before a roaring fireplace, the notes for that book I'm writing spread out on a bearskin rug. I glance down again at my watch. 15 minutes to go, which means it's time for my sister to ring me. Her youngest, Billy, is probably napping, and the twins, Maureen and Melinda, are ensconced in front of the television set with their coloring books. No doubt Jimmy, her hunky husband, is out somewhere banging nails on a new house for a lucky family. He's a builder and recently became a partner in a construction business. She couldn't have got a better man. Hard-working, a strong father, and he loves her to pieces. I squirm in my swivel chair as I skim through the assortment of bills from suppliers, fan mail for our writers, and handwritten recipes from housewives eager to see their name in the magazine, until one letter catches my eye. The envelope is engraved on the left with "On to Victory for Liberty." I see a big red V and the Statue of Liberty, an eagle, and flying aircraft. No stamp. It says "Free" in the upper right-hand corner and is addressed to Miss Kate Arden at my old address in Posey Creek. It was never postmarked. Somehow they tracked me down here to the publishing company. A knowing sensation sends chills down my back. I haven't seen stationery like this since the war. I turn it over. The envelope is wrinkled, but sealed up tight, like it was stuffed in the bottom of a drawer for a long time. No return address. I tap my nails on the envelope, a tingling on my scalp giving me a funny feeling, like opening the letter will bring back the past. You'd think I'd embrace it. Hurry to read it. I can't. I'm afraid to go there. I know what happened, and there's a certain comfort in that. Whoever sent this letter is opening up a new wound when the old one is still healing. Where did this old letter come from, Betty? I call out to my assistant. Oh, that one, she says, popping her head in. It came in a large brown envelope for you marked Special Delivery. I smile, almost in relief. Another fruitcake recipe from an overzealous ladies' auxiliary club, I imagine. I wonder where they got the war stationery. Funny how we cling to our ration book ways. Every time I pull on a pair of hosiery and try to get the seams straight, I take extra care not to snag them with my nails. I can't help but think about that bet with my sister. Lucy won the stockings, fair and square. But I was never prouder of her than when she donated them to the war effort. She wanted to do her part, she said, since nylons were important for making war materials like parachutes and rope and netting. She did it for me. That doesn't mean I'll give in and spend Christmas in Posey Creek. Still, I'm intrigued by this strange letter. I grab my pearl-handled opener, just as the phone rings. I pick up the phone and cradle the receiver to my ear. The words, "I'm not coming home for Christmas, I'm working on a book," are out of my mouth before she can speak. "I know how important your work is to you, Kate," Lucy says, her words catching in her throat. "But you've got to come home this year." I hear her suck in a sharp breath. That isn't like her. "With Ma gone, the girls need you." "The girls don't even know I exist," I say, laughing. I adore her twins, but the 8-year-olds are more interested in their paper dolls than me. She sighs. Another cleansing breath. Then, in that winsome voice I know so well, when she's hurting, she says, "I need you, big sister." I freeze. A strange longing hits me, seizes my brain like a merry-go-round, suddenly coming to a grinding stop. And Lucy is waving madly at me, her face crushed with worry, her whole body shaking. The roof caving in couldn't have hit me any harder. "Kate," I hear my sister's voice coming from the receiver. "I'm here, Lucy," I warble into the phone, like a wounded wren when I hear the ache in my sister's voice. Cold water splashed into my face, couldn't make it any clearer. I acted like a selfish prig. Something hits me then. This bird is through flying away. Time to grow up. Talk to me. What's wrong? I know you have plans, and I understand why it's hard for you to come home for the holidays, but I'm all alone with the kids. Where's Jimmy? We had a fight. About what? I can't keep the surprise out of my voice. They never fight over anything except where to hang the Christmas wreath. I'll tell you when you get here. If you can make it. I'll be there, Lucy. Don't you worry about anything. You hear? I take a moment to compose myself and say what's on my mind. It's time I came home. Time I move on, I add, silently. Oh, Kate, thank you. I hear her sob a sigh of relief. There's more going on than her wanting me to come home. I'll find out soon enough. I have a lot to do in 2 days. Cancel my reservations at the inn. That bearskin rug will have to wait. Pack a tote bag filled with Christmas presents instead of sending them by overnight post. Make a train reservation. I can take the mistletoe flyer on Thursday, a special Christmas train that runs only during the holidays, with a 20-minute layover in Philadelphia before heading west, making stops along the way in rural towns. including Posey Creek. I feel lighter, noting my hour of self-pity is up. It's been replaced with something I've avoided for a long time. I'm ashamed of how stubborn I've been. I never meant to hurt my sister by hiding my own pain. I made it home for Easter and chocolate bunnies, summer cherry harvesting, even Halloween before Ma passed. Christmas? Never. It's time to face my fears and my heartache. Jeff is gone, and no amount of longing for him every Christmas is going to change that. It isn't until I hang up that I remember the strange letter. Somehow, it doesn't seem important anymore. My sister needs me. Or is there another reason? One that makes my knees weak. The suspicion there's something in that letter I don't want to know. I stuff it into my handbag unopened. Whatever it is, it can wait. I'm going home for Christmas. Chapter 4. I stare out the window as the train leaves the station in New York and fidget with my gloves, a nervous habit I can't break. I looked up at the big clock under the glass dome before I boarded and thought about how fragile time is, knowing I've wasted it with my meanderings over the years, but also knowing I'll never get it back. I couldn't ignore the Christmas tree brightening up the station lobby with its multicolored lights, as if welcoming me home before I even got on the train. New Yorkers say the only time the railroad station is cheery is during the holidays, which makes me smile. Earlier, I got into the holiday spirit by looking at the gorgeous window displays in the department stores and became mesmerized by a homey scene. A small town with picket fences, kids on sleds, skaters twirling around in a circle on a frozen pond, and a train choo-chooing its way around them. Like Posey Creek, a tug at my heartstrings I can't ignore. I'm on a mission to help my little sister. I won't let her lose the wonderful life she's built for herself because of a silly spat with the man who adores her. I'll talk with Jimmy myself if I have to, though I'm no marriage expert. Still, I love my sister and pray I won't break down and sob on her shoulder. I'm not going home to unload on her, but to help her. The only way I can do that is to take a walk through the past and face it once and for all. A cleansing renewal. Find my way back home. As the city whirls by me in a blur outside the window, I'm determined to bring myself under control. Pulling up old memories that haven't healed won't be easy, my ears burning every time I hear someone mention Jeff, my stomach clenching, pulse racing. I press my hand over my heart to slow it down. When the conductor enters the car and calls out, 2 hours to Philadelphia, as the train speeds along the tracks, I let my mind wander and my heart remember the warm summer day I first met Jeff. A smile curves over my lips as I pull back the memory of how our friendship started with a banister at Wrightwood House and a bowl of jelly. It was